up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we tore apart the engine in the last episode, got it all tore apart. Now it's time to clean it. So as you can see, these pistons they're just trashed looking, man. They're all rusty and full of carbon and grime, and we're gonna have to figure out some way to get them all cleaned up. The cylinders don't look like they're in the best shape either, so I need to figure out some way to clean up the cylinder walls, and as well as the head. The head is pretty much in the same shape. It's got all that carbon buildup, and we just got to figure out some way to get all that stuff off there. I want it to just be a nice, smooth, brand new finish. But I don't want to use water because I don't want to end up with like that fine film of rust that you'll get. You'll get like that fine film of rust if you use water. So I don't want to go that route. I don't want to wash it with my pressure washer or anything like that. Even though, you know, I could throw some oil on there, I just don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk my oil passages getting any kind of, you know, corrosion. I also don't want to use super clean. I heard that you don't want to use that on any aluminum parts. It's not really made for aluminum, but I did hear that simple green is good, but I'm not going to be going any of those routes. I'm not going to be using any degreasers. So I'm actually going to be using diesel. Now, I know you're supposed to put diesel in a yellow can, but all I had was a red one. I was thinking of what would be a really good solvent that would be safe on engine parts. So at first I was thinking gas. Gas is way more flammable, so it would be a lot more dangerous to use gas for this. With diesel, you get a benefit that you don't get with gas. Diesel has a little bit of like lubricity, or oil, has a little bit of oil to it. So it's pretty much just going to be the best solvent for doing what I'm trying to do here. I don't know whether to start with the head or the block, but I'm probably going to start with the head. So yeah, my plan pretty much for this video is to go ahead and get all these engine parts cleaned up, deglaze the cylinders, and then my ultimate goal is to go ahead and get everything put back together, get the engine and transmission put together, and get them put into the car. So pretty big goals, but we'll see how it works. I got my cylinder head here. Now this is a plastic tub, so I'm not really worried about it damaging the surface of the head there. I don't think it's going to do a whole lot of damage to the valve seals. If they all end up being really loose, I'll have to replace them. Got it topped off enough now to where it's coming up to the top of both ports. I think the diesel is safe enough that it's not going to damage the paint, but it should eat up all that carbon. After a couple hours of cleaning, this is as clean as I was able to get it. It looks really good on the top part right here. I actually think it can turn out looking a lot better. The seat actually looks really, really nice, but the bottom side still looks really bad. That carbon is so baked on there. It's pretty much like low-grade diamond material, I swear. It's so hard. Even scrubbing on it with a steel brush, I was barely able to get any of it off. I may just have to get the wire wheel, come at it with the wire wheel. Alright, so I got the drill set up on the table here, kind of clamped down with a couple of clamps, and I've got one of the exhaust valves done so far. So this is kind of what they're looking like, a little before and after. You can see all that build up, but this took me quite a while. The exhaust is quite a bit harder than the intake was, so I'm going to see if I can kind of bust through these a little bit quicker, because this took me probably about 30 to 45 minutes just on one valve, and that's way too long. Alright, so I finally got all of these valves wire wheeled down. Finally got all the carbon off of them. So the next step is to work on the head itself, on the seats. So I need to pull the valves out, and I've got this little bitty wire wheel that I'm going to use inside on the seats to get those all cleaned out. So let's see how this works out. Take a valve out. I'm going to set it to the side there. Yeah, I have no idea how hard this metal is. I'm pretty sure it's pretty hard. I'm sure it's very hard, but I'm not going to just dig right in. This wire brush is super soft. Okay, that looks pretty good. That looks really good, actually. I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna clean these up really quick so that we can go ahead and get to the valve lapping. Got an assortment of little tools that I feel like I can get down in there with. Alright, let's see if I can get down in there and get some of that grime out. Take a little bit and just kind of work it down in there. Break it loose. Try to stay off of the seat because I don't want to scratch up the seat. And I'm going to take a little bit of brake clean. A little bit more digging, a little bit more diesel. Yeah. This little tool is working perfect. Alright, I'm going to go through and clean the rest of them. That's a pretty big difference. Check it out. So I got all these seats cleaned up. They're looking pretty much about as good as they're gonna get. So I'm just gonna go in here now and see if I can relieve my OCD by getting the ports cleaned up on the exhaust side. There's still just a little bit left behind, so I'm just gonna go in and clean that up. It won't be much more and I'll be sick of it. Also need to go in here and clean up little patches like that got left behind of the head gasket. Anyway, so I'm gonna go in here and finish up these exhaust ports, finish cleaning up little stuff like that. Won't take me much longer, then we'll get to lapping the valves. I moved on from the head onto one of the pistons so that I could kind of get a little bit of a game plan on how to clean up the pistons. The one that I have started on is actually turning out really, really good. And remember, this is just in diesel. I'm just soaking it in diesel and scrubbing it with a brass brush, and it's turning out really good. I really like it. I'll show you the rings real quick. Coming out really nice. So I'm gonna keep cleaning these pistons up so we can get to gapping the rings. The first step is just scrubbing the top down with this brass brush until it looks like this. And then I'll go along the sides, just getting all that carbon buildup until it looks like this. Then once I have it all scrubbed down, I grab this tester. I use this tool to get all the oil ring groove all cleaned out with this. And then after that, I come back with this tool. Now this is really the star of the show right here. If I didn't have this thing, so much of this would not have gotten done properly. This thing isn't leaving any scratches behind. I don't know what it's made out of. It's not doing any damage to the piston whatsoever. After I finish the second ring, I'll just move up to the top ring, of course, and then I move on to the rings. I like to start out with these really thin oil control rings first. I keep this tool for this part, lightly scrape, making sure that I'm hitting the tops of these little carbon bumps we're setting inside the oil control ring. Leaves behind these little gold dots, which are these little indentions from where the oil ring has worn into this from sitting in one spot so long. So I fill it out until it just feels real smooth, and I try to make sure that I stay off the edges, just hitting the flat part only. And as soon as it feels flat, I just go back and I feel for any little spots that got left behind before I move on. And I get the whole side, flip it over, and it's got a very unique indention right here where it goes pretty much perfectly flat. And then there's two edges. There's the flat top, and then it dips down where it's black is where it dips down. It's got a slight angle, and I just remove the carbon, and I have to let my eyes do the most work. But after I've got both sides of that, I run it along the inside. There's a bunch of little indentions where the oil control ring was riding on the inside as well. So I just barely scratch off the carbon, and I'll leave those little indentions, making sure that I'm not doing any kind of damage or anything like that. I'm just barely scraping away the carbon. After I get all those, that would complete one of these. The other one doesn't have that complex angle. It only has the ripples. They don't have that complex angle on the backside. So it just has the ripples where it was sitting inside the oil control ring too long with that cooked on oil. So I remove that, and I remove the inside, and I'm done with that one. And I like to finish the oil control ring by turning on my Dremel. I've got a brass wire wheel. Each one of the grooves is completely full of carbon. So I'll take it like this right here where it's hitting both sides of the wire wheel at the same time. After that, we move on to the two compression rings. I usually do the second compression ring first, the one with the little step, like a little ledge. If I didn't have this tool, I would not be able to do this. So I'll take this tool and I'll run the edge of the blade, just the tip, right into that ledge. This fits perfectly in that little groove. And then I'll run it on the inside because there's quite a bit built up here. making sure I'm not hitting any of the edges. Okay, so that's all I pretty much do to the second. And I always leave the first compression ring last because it seems to be the easiest. All I really have to do to it is run it along the inside and then check for anything on the face, and it's good to go. That's the process that I'm going through to get these pistons to go from looking like this to looking like this. So yeah, I got this little cylinder hone deglazer from Napa. This is a 240 grit. All right, let's go ahead and test this thing out. Man, I thought I was done with the diesel, but looks like I'm going to be soaked in it for a little bit longer. You still see that brown line at the top. But everything below that looks really decent. Really, really good. Cross hatching looks really good. What do y'all think? I think it looks pretty good, honestly. So, I think what I want to go ahead and do next is gap the rings. So I got this little ring filing tool here. I'm going to start with the second ring. And I'll use the piston to push it down. So we're pretty close. Service limit is for 200 horsepower, so you got to keep that in mind. Alright guys, that's pretty much the process. I'm just going to run through the rest of these until I get something like 26 on the top one and 31 on the bottom one. Now that I got all the piston rings taken care of, what I'm going to do next is we're going to lap the valves. Alright, so I finally got all these valve seats looking about as good as I think they're going to get. A couple of them still have some signs of pitting. Problem is, I've ran my valves about as far as I want to run them. I mean, I've ran the lap job all the way up to the edge. I'm pretty much done lapping the valves. I finally got these looking about how I want them to look. So I'm probably just going to, spray this down, get it cleaned up, get all those valve guides lubed up with some oil. Then I'll throw the valves back in, because the next thing that I need to work on is this. So we're going to be notching out this section of the oil pump. So this is a K20A2 oil pump from a RSX Type S. So you just notch it out right through here and get it to where it will flushly mount up against here. Alright, so I just got done knocking off that corner and raising the roof, so let's see how it fits now. Alright, so if you look there, you can see it's made it up flushly right here, and then it's really hard to see, but there's a small gap across the top of that bolt, all the way across here, all the way down there, and then it mates flushly right there. So guys, we have successfully mounted up the oil pump. Now I just got to get all these freaking aluminum shavings cleaned up. Okay, so I got everything cleaned up, and while I got the girdle up here, the next thing I need to focus on, where's it at? Right here. There's a little oil plug right here on the girdle that has to be removed, and then I'm going to put I think it's a 12mm bolt that fits in here, and I'm going to see if I can remove it with this screw. So I got a tiny little screw here. I'm going to try to see if I can get it to thread in. I got it threaded in there, so I'm just going to twist it and pull it out. There we go. And now I'm just going to plug that with a 12mm. Hit it with this. Wipe it off. Just throw a little bit of this on there. We'll pop that in. Nice. Okay guys, so I'm pretty much ready to start assembling the engine now. I've got the block all cleaned up. Next I need to go ahead and install my oil squirters. Got my oil squirters in. I'll go ahead and drop on some assembly lube. Make sure she's good and cleaned up. Got that all wipe down now. We'll go ahead and drop her in. Actually, the next step would be to go ahead and put the girdle on. Need to go ahead and drop some Honda Bond all the way around here. Bring my girdle up here. Go ahead and install my seal. Looks good. Let's go ahead and drop it on down. So nervous. Throw a couple of these in before I beat my hands together. Make sure I lube up the ends. Make sure we're still spinning. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to 22 foot-pounds, and next is 56 degrees. So I got my compass app on, and I'm gonna get it to 0 degrees. Everything feels pretty normal, feels pretty good. Feels real good. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is flip the motor over, go ahead and stick these pistons in here. It's already getting to wipe these cylinder walls down with some oil. Trying to make sure and get all the debris out and everything. I got the orientation correct here. Top ring, second ring, top oil control ring, middle oil control ring, bottom oil control ring. My camera died while I was getting that first one in, but I went ahead and got all the rest of the pistons in. What I want to do now is go ahead and torque down my rod caps. Those go to 27 foot-pounds plus 120 degrees. 27. I think she's happy. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw the oil pump on. We'll grab our chain here. So the chain is specific to the oil pump, so you can't use your old chain. You have to use this chain. And throw it on here. It's not fitting, guys. That's the wrong chain. You got the wrong chain, guys. Whoa. Alright guys, so I have been doing a little bit of research and I finally figured out what the problem is. So this is the oil pump chain from the TSX. You know, that comes on the oil pump with the balancing shafts and everything. And this is the one that China sent. Now if you look really close, they're not even the same width like it needs to be, and it won't even begin to go on this gear. It was like a little bundle. I'll try to throw up a screenshot, but it was a bundle. This guide, this chain, and this tensioner. Even this, it would work if I was trying to use it on a K24. They had these part numbers listed in the description. So these are actually from an Acura dealership here locally. I just called them up, paid that good price, and it was actually like $130 shipped to the house, to whereas this kit was $30. The bag's not necessarily clear. It's got like a pink tint to it, and they're never Ziploc. They don't seal them with a Ziploc bag. They're always sealed. So, but before we tear into that, I've got to tell you guys about our new sponsor. So my buddy Chris Townsend stopped by
Tri-State Auto Tuners
from Tri-State Auto Tuners, and he just wanted to let us know that we have a new sponsor for our channels. You guys should definitely go out and check out his channel, Tri-State Auto Tuners. He does a lot of car stuff, a lot of car content. Park City out of Maynard, Arkansas decided to go ahead and
hook us up.
Yeah, join the team, man. Can't thank them enough.
Thank you, Park City.
Check them out. Alrighty guys, so we're here at Park City. We're gonna run in here and see if we can find this ease out tool that we need. Alrighty guys, quick trip to Park City and we are back. We got our reverse drill and screw extractor set here. Figure with the whole set, we can definitely get it with the whole set,
yes.
right?
Yeah, we can definitely get it out of there.
Bam! Alright guys, so I finally got it figured out. So yeah, I finally ended up getting the rest of that bolt out. And I cleaned up the threads with a tap and finally got the guide back on there. Ended up having to tear into my spare motor here and pull the bolts out, but we got it back together. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and throw the tensioner back on there, and I'm just gonna use the old tensioner. And it looks like I had just enough windage tray bolts to get the windage tray on without having to go into my bolts bucket. Just installing another bead of Honda Bond around here before we throw in the oil pan. Got the oil pan all scraped down and wiped clean. Let's see how this lines up. Looks good over there. Now it's time to go ahead and flip the motor over, install the head. Went ahead and picked up a Cometic head gasket, and we'll be using these ARP head studs. Here's the part number. Alright. There it is, guys. Can't forget your lube. She's pretty snug on there. Now we'll do 60. That's 60. Now all we gotta do is get to 80. ARP head studs installed. Oh yeah. Alright. There she is. Whew. Reinstall these lost motion springs. It's time to install the valve springs. So I got the Supertech dual valve springs installed. Oh yeah. Looking pretty good. So I've got this Drag Cartel exhaust cam gear. 51 foot-pounds. 51. Next, we want to install the 50-degree intake. There's the timing chain. Yep. Everything's in time. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We pretty much got the engine all together, so the next thing that we're going to be doing is installing this water pump. Pretty tight. Pretty tight. Let's grab that valve cover. This way. Alright, so I got to get this valve cover off here. I didn't even show y'all the mess that I made of the white valve cover. I ended up setting it face down. The paint was still too soft, and I attempted to repaint it. It didn't turn out. Alright, so we got the valve cover on there. Next I'm going to go ahead and throw on the crank pulley. Ready to throw on the thermal gasket, just like that. And get this front part thrown on. Now I'm going to get this throttle body thrown on. And what I'm needing is a block off plate right here. You can see here where I've already got the other side blocked off. It wouldn't hurt to have another plate on top here to kind of hold those plugs down. And voila! Yeah, so it turned out pretty good. I got this over here too, kind of holding down those two plugs. Get this thrown onto the engine with the little adapter here. We'll see how it looks. So yeah, I got that thrown on there. Looks pretty good. Everything looks like it's going to work out pretty well. Happy with how it turned out. Got the valves lashed, got that thrown on. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw on a few more of these goodies and we'll see how it looks. And bam! There it is, guys. Finally got everything all put on. Except for one thing. So I got these 2200cc fuel injectors. I hope they work out, but we're going to see if they fit real quick. What do you guys think? She's going to be ready to rip real soon. I pretty much got everything all put back together on the motor. I'd say she's just about ready to throw the transmission on and put it in the car. Really happy with how everything is turning out. Shout out to Parts City, and that's a huge thing for us right now. And if you guys ever want to stop by and check them out yourself, they're located at 13084 Highway 115, or give them a call to see if they've got the parts you need at 870-647-1230. So yeah, I guess that's going to pretty much wrap it up for today. We got the motor all put back together, and like I said, it's going to be ready to throw the transmission on and get it test fitted in the CRX in the next video. So I hope you guys are subscribed, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.